We both started doing hard drugs together. He ended up killing himself, right? So he hung himself in our house whenever I was feeding the baby. It was the very first time that I said, you know what? I'm not worried about you and your problems. I always put you first. I'm putting this kid first. So I put the kid first. I fed the kid. He hung himself outside of our house. So I found him. And that just, there was no want for me to get sober after that. I've never really told anybody this, but I'm going to say it. About 2 months before our baby was born, right, when I was dealing with him on and off of heroin, I sat in my bedroom one day and I said, God, I said, you know I am never going to leave him. I said, just take him.
Let's be honest about recovery.
The rewards, the challenges.
Let's talk about our failures. We are flawed people, after all.
Let's challenge the stigmas that weigh us down.
Because while most of us are looked at,
few of us are seen.
Let's talk about addiction.
And how Christ overcomes our weaknesses.
Because we are loved.
Because we are loved.
Because we are loved.
We are loved.
We are
because
loved.
We are loved.
I'm Julie, and this is my story. Before I knew Jesus, I felt so unlovable and rejected. I did a lot of different things to try to fill the void. Without him, I don't know where I would be. Most likely homeless, strung out, locked up, or most likely dead. He took my life from being something so hopeless and broken, and then turned it into something so promising and purposeful.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Jesus Loves Addicts. Time to buckle up for part 2. It is a powerful one, as they all tend to be. Please don't forget to leave us a comment. Stay tuned for part 2.
What year was that?
In East Baton Rouge Parish Prison.
Oh, what happened?
So apparently, I don't remember the night. I'm not going to lie. But I woke up that morning in solitary, and I went to wipe my eyes, and all the skin came out from underneath my eyes. And I was completely naked in a very dark cell, and I was scared because I'm like looking around, and none of these people seem to be in their right mind. And the first thing that came to mind, honestly, was sex trafficking. Because I didn't know a lot about sex trafficking, but I'm like, I'm in a dungeon somewhere. Yeah. And the guards heard me moving around. They opened the door and they stared at me in my face, and they were like, "Are you done yet?" And I was like, "What are you talking?" I said, "Where am I?" And they were like, "Oh, she's done." They were like, "Send the psych doctor in." So they sent the psych doctor in. The psych doctor talked to me and cleared me to go to gen population, right? And I'm like, that's when I realized, I'm like, okay.
I've been arrested.
So I'm like, I don't even know what happened. Like, they're not telling me my charges, anything. And so I start freaking out, and I don't have a number to call out. You have to get assigned an inmate number to call out. They didn't assign me one because apparently I was so combative the night before that I never got one. So other girls started letting me use the phone. I called... I don't remember if I called my parents or not, but I know I called my grandfather. My grandfather was like my rock, right? And he's like, I will come get you out the first time you're in jail, but I'm telling you now, I'm never getting you out again.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, that's fine, because I'm not doing Xanax bars anymore.
That's
this
is
just crazy. It was the Xanax bars.
Yeah.
So he comes, he gets me out. It felt like it took forever. And I go to an attorney the next day because I had worked an internship when I was in school for paralegal, right? So I knew a criminal defense attorney. I called him. I'm like, hey, I was arrested last night. I have no idea what happened. I need your help. And he's like, absolutely, come in. He knew I wanted to go to law school. He's like, we're gonna take care of this. And I'm like, okay. So I go and I show up, and he sits me down and he's like, do you remember anything? And I said, no. I said, I remember coming to in the back of a cop car, and I was handcuffed, and I got out my handcuffs, and I remember being in a hallway, and I seen the door, and I'm trying to walk to it. I said, but I don't remember anything else. And he's like, okay. He said, the cops got called because somebody was outside in your yard yelling for help. He said, when they got there, your whole house was trashed, right? Which it was. Whenever I went home, my back door was open. The couch was moved from one side of the house to the other. There was leaves just all over my house. I don't even know where they came from. The toilet was out of the floor. The bathroom door was ripped off the hinges, right? And I don't remember any of this. I don't know how exactly it happened. But he said when they showed up, it was a domestic violence call. So apparently me and my boyfriend were just going ham at each other in the house. And I'm like, okay. He said you got pepper sprayed 18 times that night and tried to bribe the officers $3,600 not to take you to jail. I was like, I did? He's like, yes, you did. I'm like, oh, wow. Like, I had no. He said, what happened? I was like, I was on Xanax bars and I was drinking. He's like, okay, I'm going to handle this for you. And he called somebody. He's like, look, she's trying to go to law school. Like, this is her first time ever getting in trouble. She just, drank way too much and doesn't even remember this. What can we do? So he got me pre-trial. And, the most messed up thing about it is I always had an anger streak, always. And they ended up dropping the charges on Will. And they put them on me because whenever they looked at everything, how I acted, what was going on, I was the aggressor. And I felt horrible about it. But I went through anger management, did everything I was supposed to do, so they dropped the charges. But I was like, I'm never touching Xanax bars again. I didn't. I never did Xanax after that because Xanax was a problem.
But that was still wasn't your first arrest? Or was it?
It was my first arrest.
No, was that your only arrest? I should have said.
No, that was not my only arrest. I've been arrested 5 times, I believe. 3 times in Iberville Parish and once in Orleans and once in East Baton Rouge.
So clearly the next ones have nothing to do with Xanax bars.
So what year are we in?
You have to find a different what
So
cause.
when I first got arrested, it was 2018.
Okay.
The middle of 2018. So this was about 6 months into our relationship, right? 6 months into our relationship, I just started going to jail. After that, we continued to drink a lot. I quit drinking vodka because I found out vodka made me mean. He pointed that out to me one day. He's like, every time you drink vodka, like, I was so mean to him whenever I was on vodka and I didn't notice it, but like I would hit him and like all that. And I don't even know where that comes from. I never knew where that comes from, Yeah. I guess they say when you drink alcohol, they call it spirits for like a reason. I guess I invited something in that was just whenever my brain wasn't working, it was working. And so I quit drinking vodka, but we started drinking a whole bunch. Towards the end of 2018, beginning of 2019, we started hanging out with people that were doing meth again. And they were at the house all the time. And so I just started doing a lot of meth. And he was miserable about it, and he would go to work, and because he was working throughout all this. I was not. And I ended up losing track of my birth control, right? Because I had been up on meth for days on end, and I would not take it like I was supposed to. So we got pregnant with our son in the beginning of 2019. Found out I was pregnant in March, and I quit doing everything, okay? Now, he, on the other hand, was like, look, I'm going to stop when the baby comes, but I'm going to let you know I need to get all this out my system so I can be a good dad, right? I'm like, fair enough.
As if he hasn't had enough time to do that, right? Yeah.
Right, but fair enough, okay? Because I get it. I didn't want to quit. But now there's another life that's dependent on me doing the right thing. So that's fine. So he started heavily doing Percocets, lean, really anything that would come through. Drinking all the time. We started fighting a lot. And it was okay for me because, this isn't him. This is him when he's on drugs. This is him when he's drinking. Like,
it's not always going to be like
this.
It's
going to go away. Well, then his mom dies 2 days before our baby was born, right? Ugh. So that...
Well, wait, you're saying this is okay, this is him, but you're also fighting during this time that you're not using, and he's...
Because he would get so messed up. Like, when we were together and we were using together... I don't know if we just... Well,
you didn't notice it as much because you were
high.
Probably not.
Yeah, you were there too.
Probably not, but I never notice it. He'd be falling asleep at the table, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, we have a lot less patience
Like,
when
we
we're
have
looking at
our
it.
friends are here. You are drinking way too much too fast. Pace yourself.
Now, when you say you guys were fighting, you're sober during your pregnancy.
Yes.
Is this fisticuff stuff? I mean, are you guys physically fighting? Like,
I mean, maybe once or twice.
okay.
But it wasn't. Not really.
Not a
because
regular thing.
whenever I
Okay.
look back at the relationship, I don't know why or how, but I was mainly the aggressor.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know, so whenever I wasn't drinking or anything, I wasn't. Now I would pick and
You'd be
poke and prod
verbally-
and get loud.
Yeah.
Because I was sober, but I wasn't hitting.
Okay.
Yeah. So his mom ended up passing away. Baby came 2 days later, and he is just like wallowing in his grief, right? Which
I don't even think he started 2 days. That's awful.
Yes. It's just understandable. You know, here I am with another excuse about why he's using and drinking and this, that, and the third. But I get it. You know, I don't know how it is to lose my mom. It's got to be hard. His mom was a heroin addict, so her organs ended up shutting down on her, and she died 2 days before the baby was born. And I think that was why heroin was an X on his list, right? Because he would see how his mother was on heroin. She wasn't around.
That was one of his, I'm not going to because.
Right. And so I was dealing with that, trying to take care of the new baby, trying to help him with that the best way I knew how, and I didn't know how.
Right.
So he's just drinking and doing drugs and all this, and I'm just like, okay, you know, I don't know. So I started working at a law firm at the very beginning of 2020. Our baby was born in October, right? So this went on for October, November, December. January 2020, I went and started working at a law firm. Well, then COVID hit. So everything kind of shut down. The law firm was still operating because court cases aren't going to stop just because COVID is here. We're just going to do everything on Zoom, right? So I was the only person in the office. But with him grieving and doing all these drugs, people were in and out of our house all the time with drugs. And then somebody came over with meth again. I'm like, okay, I'm trying to take care of this newborn, work a full-time job. He's not helping at all. And I've got to look at him messed up all the time. I'm about to start doing meth again.
I've earned it.
Yes, exactly. So I start doing meth heavily again. He's doing meth heavily now because it's around. And around this time, we start fist fighting and stuff again, right? One day we were arguing, we were fighting. My mom comes over just to stop by. She just happened to be in Baton Rouge in the area, and she knew where we lived, and she just come see the baby, come in, you know. We're both high, fighting. And she's like, what is going on? And he's like, your daughter's acting like this because she's on meth. Okay. Nobody knew that I was using, like, even whenever I was addicted to Mojo, right? Nobody knew because I was very secretive and like cautious about where I would go, who I would talk to.
You
I
stayed
had an
away from them.
excuse about why I couldn't come over and this, that. Exactly. And I was like, I cannot believe he just said like ultimate trust betrayal, right? Because you're on meth right now, but you're going to tell my mom that I'm only acting like this because I'm on meth. So then my mom starts freaking out on me. Me and her get into a physical altercation. She ends up taking Evan, my son, and leaving. That's fine. Understandable. You know, you can't blame her at all.
Right.
So then that just opens a whole nother door because now I'm resentful. I'm so resentful at him because
It's his fault you lost your son.
yeah. And now my family knows I'm on meth, and now I can't even call and talk to them or say anything. Anything I tell them from this point on is, oh, Julie, you're only acting like this because you're on meth.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. I'm like, y'all don't understand. Like, he was doing all this while I was pregnant. This, that. Julie, we didn't see any of that. You're only acting like this because you're on meth. Like, he's on meth too. I don't know. Will seems to be acting perfectly fine. Yeah, because Will had done drugs his whole life.
Yeah.
You know?
This is normal.
But the other thing is these drugs were mixing with another thing in your life, and that's there's this unresolved anger.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
yes. And now my family is anti me and all Will.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everything Will says.
Out of everything, you are rejected.
Julie, why would he tell us that you were on meth if he was doing meth too? That just doesn't make any sense. Like, because I don't know, but he did, you know, and they didn't believe me. I mean, I can't blame them. Like I said, when I was in high school, I was so good at lying and manipulating that why would they believe
credibility,
me?
Yeah.
Why would they believe me?
Right.
So then me and him are fighting all the time, and one of my best friends at the time, I guess she started showing interest in him, or maybe even just being there for him as a friend, where I wasn't, right? Because I didn't want to hear about his mom anymore. I didn't want to hear about any of this. Like, you just took my whole family from me because you wanted to say I was on meth in an argument.
Yeah.
So I guess she started being there for him, right? And they kind of started talking. And I knew this, and I had a feeling of this, right? But I was so angry and so bitter that even my own friends didn't want to be around me. So they'd show up to the house, they'd hang out with me for like an hour, and they'd be like, come on, Will, let's go. And all three of them would leave. Just leave me there. I'm like, okay. I don't know, maybe I am that miserable. So, of course, I just do more drugs.
Right.
But they started hitting it off, and they started messing around. And I kind of knew that, but I could never prove it. So then I started going crazy trying to prove it, because I'm like telling my mom, I'm like, Will's cheating on me with my best friend. And she's like, Julie, no, he is not. You are on meth. That is the drugs telling you this. I'm like, no, it is not. So then I started going nuts. I became obsessed with it.
To prove that you weren't nuts.
Yes. Became nuts to prove that I was not nuts. So all I did was fall into the hand, right? I didn't see it that way at the time, but that's exactly what I did. So then all of them and all of his friends and everybody is like looking at me, and they're like, she is crazy. Like, the drugs have taken her over. Now, the only people who knew I wasn't crazy, I don't want to say they knew I wasn't crazy, because I was crazy.
Yeah.
I was crazy. But the only people who knew that some of this stuff that they were saying and telling my family was going on was the people that were at my house using with me. But they got together and they would report to my mother. Oh, Julie's doing this. Oh, Julie's doing that. They would record me. Like, one day I showed up to my friend's house, and I'm like on her porch crying. I'm like, I just want to die. I just want to kill myself. Like, can you please just open the door? Just talk to me. Like, y'all just tell me what is going on. If y'all are sleeping together, that's perfectly fine. But tell me so I'm not running myself crazy trying to figure this out. They just recorded me. They never opened the door, and they recorded me and sent to my mother. And I just felt so betrayed. Like, they were my best friends for 12 years, and you're just going to turn your back on me because, you know?
Yeah.
Well, you know, you're looking for, and I know that how this may sound, but you're looking for real value, real kind of ethics in a very unethical world, a very unethical, right? And so, interesting how dark this all gets, and it's a typical path. It is the path of addiction, right? But you're knocking on the door, as I am just surface oriented, familiar with your story. This is all happening as you're about to
hit your bottom.
Find treatment, right? Is that right?
Yeah. So the first time I went to treatment was in 2020, which was not long after that, right? So after that whole incident, I ended up where did I end up? I ended up in Pigeon, right? Okay. So because we had kind of we weren't living together. And it's so crazy to me because nobody really noticed except for me, but like, I would tell him, like, I don't want to be with you. I know you're with my friend Ashley. And I would go to work at this law firm, right? And I'd come home, and he's, like, laying in the bed. And I'm like, what are you doing here? You know, he's like, oh, I just want to be with you, like, da-da-da-da-da. And I didn't want to be with him at that point. But I would tell people, like, oh, he's still, I'm only talking to him because he keeps coming over. And they're like, no, he's not. He's already told us, Julie, leave him alone. And I'm like, I can't. So then I just felt stuck. So then what happened was he ended up, he was in Pigeon. He called me to come over to his brother's house. I ended up going over to his brother's house. And everybody's like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, he told me to come up in there. Like, no, he didn't. Because nobody believed anything I ever said at that point because I'm just the crazy girl on drugs. So I'm like, no, he really did. And I don't remember who called the cops, why they called the cops, what happened. But the cops ended up getting called over there, okay? And I had an old warrant that I didn't know about from this event that happened at the bar. Remember I said we got in trouble at the bar? Yeah. And the cops are coming. Will had a warrant. He's seen the cops coming over the bridge, and he takes off running. He's like, you better run. Absolutely not. Because I have text messages proving that I'm not crazy and somebody invited me over here. I am about to stand right here and show these cops that I'm allowed to be here. Well, then the cops show up. They see that I'm on drugs, and they run my name, and I have a warrant. So they don't even ask me anything. I'm like, why are you taking me to jail? Like, what is going on? And they put me in there, and they're like, you have a warrant. I'm like, I should have ran, you know? So they bring me to jail on this warrant. And I sat there probably about a month. And then they were like, the warden called me out one day, and he's like, look, your family wants you to go to treatment. And I was like, okay. I said, is it going to get me out of jail? And he's like, absolutely. And I'm like, okay, yeah, give me the paper. And he slides the paper over there, and I pick up my pen, and I go to sign it, and then I look at the top, and it says a year of treatment. And I'm like, a year of treatment? I said, you can keep that. Because I knew I was not going to be sitting in jail for a year on a warrant. And I kicked Mojo before. I kicked other things before. You know, I don't need this. I'm doing it to get out of jail. So he's like, okay, I've got somewhere better for you. He says, it's a 30-day program. You can go there if you would like to. I'm willing to sign that off. And I'm like, okay, yeah, give it to me. So he gave it to me, and I went to a treatment center in Abbeville. Actually, it's the treatment center. I don't work in Abbeville, but it's the same treatment center that I work for now. Okay. And I remember being there and hearing all these things, and I'm like, okay, you know what? All of this is making sense. Like, I don't have a drug problem per se. I have a coping skills problem. Like, I don't know how to deal with life. You know what I'm saying? So I need to know how to deal with life, and these people are going to help teach me how to deal with life so that I don't have to do drugs anymore. And I dove into it because I never wanted to be those people that I would get on their backs about when I was younger. I never wanted to be this person. I just didn't know what else to do. It was COVID. Like, I'm secluded in my house. The only people that will talk to me are other people using drugs because everybody else thinks I'm crazy. So I fully dove into it. And I remember looking at, like, these people that worked at the treatment center, and I'm like, that is amazing. Like, I want to do that one day. But in the back of my head, knowing that I would never probably stay sober long enough to do it. And we used to have an option to go to church or big book study every Sunday, right? And, of course, I always chose big book study because you were not going to catch me dead in church. You just weren't.
I'd like to take a moment to recognize a major podcast sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by America's Thrift Stores, your go-to option for decluttering and giving back. If you have a closet bursting at the seams or a garage that's seen better days, we've got the perfect solution for you.
That's right. America's Thrift Stores makes it easy to clear out the clutter and make a positive impact in your community. Whether you're cleaning out your wardrobe, downsizing your living space, or just looking to give back, America's Thrift Stores has you covered.
And here's the best part. You've got options. Schedule a hassle-free home pickup, drop off your items at one of their convenient donation sites, or swing by an America's Thrift Store to donate in person. No matter which way you choose, you're making a difference.
Absolutely. Every donation you make to America's Thrift Stores directly benefits charities in your area, such as the Home of Grace and other fantastic organizations dedicated to helping those in need.
For example, donations made to America's Thrift Stores in southern Mississippi help the Home of Grace provide support and assistance to individuals facing drug and alcohol addiction. Your contributions make a real impact on their mission to provide freedom from addiction through Christ-centered recovery. So not only are you decluttering your life, but you're also helping build a stronger and more supportive community.
It's truly a double blessing. So what are you waiting for? Clean out that closet, clear out that garage, and make a positive difference in your community by donating to America's Thrift Stores.
Visit America's Thrift Stores online to schedule a home pickup, locate a donation site near you, or get directions to one of their store locations.
America's Thrift Stores, where giving back never goes out of style.
Well,
was
that
part
your
of your
punishment.
anger
Right.
was part of that's right. Yeah. No, was part of your anger at God? Was he also a target of your anger throughout these years?
If we're being honest, I think because of the conflicting views that I had and the fact that it was a punishment, I thought it was a fairy tale.
Didn't really give him that time.
I mean,
Okay.
I used to
Fair
drink
enough,
and I
yeah.
used to tell people all the time, I'm like, the Native Americans used to tell fables, and it was like
Right.
not things that really happened, but they would say it so that
I
you could
gotcha.
understand the world. That's what the Bible is. That's all the Bible is.
Yeah.
And so no, I wasn't going to go. And for some odd reason, the very last Sunday that I was there, one of the girls was like, hey, are you going to come to church today? I said, no, I'm not. I'm going to Big Book study. She's like, but all we do is listen to music. Like, we don't do anything but listen to music. And I'm a music person. I will have music on all day. I love music, any kind of music, right? So I'm like, for the music.
I'll go.
For the music. So I went for the music, and I'm sitting there, and I'm listening to all these songs, and I'm looking at all these people, and I'm like, I don't know about this, but it's not the worst, right? Mm-hmm. So then I left treatment probably on that Tuesday, and I went back home to my house, and I didn't have a phone. I didn't have anything. Like, I had lost my vehicle, my phone, absolutely everything before I went to treatment. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I just want to talk to Will. I just want to call him and see how he's doing. Because before I left, he's like, look, I love you. Like, when we were talking in the truck right before, he's like, you better run. He's like, look, I really love you, but like, this isn't you. Like, I can't do this. We've got to figure something out. And I'm like, okay, so let me call him and see. Because remember, I told you he was constantly coming back to my house. He was constantly acting like, okay, so I don't know if it was a trauma bond. I really don't know what it is.
Maybe.
But I'm like, okay. So about 3 days into it, after I cleaned up my whole house because my house had been trashed from being on drugs, I go and I walk to my neighbor's house 2 doors down. Their names are Bill and Francis. And they used to cut my grass, and they used to like help take care of the house, right? So I go over there because I'm like, okay, I know that I can use their phone after sitting at home for 3 days trying to figure out how I'm going to get in touch with him. And I walk down there, and I knock on their door, and I'm like, hey, and they were like, oh, you're back. Like, we're so happy to see you. And I'm like, yeah, do you guys have a phone I could borrow? And they were like, yeah, hold on 1 second. And one of them goes to get their phone, and Francis is standing there. Miss Francis is standing there talking to me, and she's like, where have you been? And I was like, oh, I went to treatment. And she's like, oh, are you better now? And I'm like, yeah, I'm doing great. And she's like, okay, did you find God while you were gone? And I was like, yeah, because I went to church once.
Yeah.
I listened to, yeah, I found God. And she's like, oh, I'm so happy for you, this, that, and the other. And she brings me the phone, and I use the phone, and I find out where he's at. And he said he's going to come see me tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, that's great. Thank you. And I go to hand her the phone back, and I'm like, thank you so much. She's like, you should go to church with me one day. And I'm like, okay, because worship music wasn't that bad, and I just lied to this lady and told her that
Now
I
I
found
gotta go.
God, so of course I have to go, right? So she's like, okay. She's like, on Wednesday nights they do like a young adult thing, and this lady was probably like 60 something, and she's like, they do a young adults thing, like the music, they have like guitars and like all this, like it's really, really cool. I'm gonna bring you to that one. I was like, okay, sounds great. Like, I'll see you when you come over and pick me up. She shows up that Wednesday night to pick me up, and I get ready, and I go with her, and we're talking, and I'm just like, I don't know what I'm getting myself into right now. And we go, and they're singing all these songs, and they're doing all this, and I am just bawling, like sobbing hysterically in my seat. And she's like rubbing my back and she's like, the Lord is calling you. And I'm like, there's no way, but I don't know any other way to describe this. Okay, maybe this lady is right?
Yeah.
She's like, you need to go up there and let them pray for you when this is over. You need to go up there and let them pray for you. And I was like, I looked at her and I said, I can't go up. Like, will you come with me? She was like, of course. So she walks me up there. She knows the preacher and all these people. And she's like telling them about me. She's like, she just, came home from treatment and, this. And she was just bawling in her seat. And like, he's looking at me in my eyes and he's like, God is trying to pull you close, And I'm just in disbelief because why would he want me?
Yeah.
Of all people, why would he want me? And, but I felt so peaceful in it, even though I'm bawling my eyes out, right? Like, okay, maybe so. And he prays over me and I go home and I'm like, I feel weird, Like it's a hard feeling to describe if you've never felt it, but I'm sure y'all have before. And I'm like, okay, maybe there's something here that I've been missing. And I go back home and she hands me this pamphlet and it's like how to get saved, right? And I'm like, I kind of look at it and I'm like, okay, whatever. And I go home and I throw it on the table and I just can't wrap my head around it, but I kind of dismiss it in a sense. Like, okay, that was weird. Let's get back to normal life. And a couple days later, like this pamphlet is just itching at me, okay? And I go, it's probably 2:30 in the morning, and I sit down in the chair in my bedroom, and I start reading it. I'm like, okay, all this is making sense. And then there's a prayer to how to get saved on the back, right? And I read it out loud, and I felt everything in my body shift. Like, okay, this is real. Like, I can feel from the top of my head to the bottom of my toes that something just happened to me. And so I call her and I'm like, hey, are you going to church Sunday? And she's like, yes, of course. And so she comes pick me up. We start going to church. She buys me my first Bible. Like, she starts ministering to me. I'm like, okay, this is really, really cool, right? I started praying to God about like the weirdest of things. Like one day I was at my papa's house and there was like a storm coming and there was this palm tree. And my granny's room was directly behind the palm tree. And I was like, God, I said, that palm tree, I know that palm tree is going to fall. I said, do not let that palm tree fall towards my granny's bedroom. Let it fall right here. And I pointed to a spot on the ground. And whenever I came out the next morning, that palm tree was sitting right there on the ground. I just little things like that. He would give me confirmation to show me there was something there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's crazy. Like, I don't even know how to explain it to anybody because
yeah,
that doesn't happen.
Right.
And, yeah, so new in my faith though. And being that I didn't really believe in anything before that.
Right.
As soon as the opportunity came up, we got pregnant with our second son, but as soon as the opportunity came up after my baby was born, the second one, Owen, I started using again. I did. And let me back up and explain why I started using again. Okay. So December of 2021, was it 2021? December of 2020. Okay, so I went to treatment in July or June, came home, found God, was kind of like on fire for God for like 3-4 months, right? October, we got pregnant with our son. December, we started working for this place. I was working while I was pregnant. Don't ask me why I was doing this, but we were remodeling apartments, right? So I'm like, I redid my own house after the flood. So like I knew how to sheetrock and I knew how to do all these things. So I'm like, okay, like we're getting paid cash money for this. We can work whenever we want. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to help him out with this so we get paid double. So we started working, doing these evictions and apartment remodels. And in one of the places, they were never in the best part of town. One of these places, we ended up finding a bag on the floor. And we didn't know what it was at the time. It almost looked like marijuana resin, but it was actually black tar heroin, okay? And we found it, and we sent a picture to one of our friends that we knew used heroin, and we were like, how much is this? Like, what does this go for? And he's like, bro, that's probably like $150 worth of heroin right there. And we're like, okay,
we need the
let's
money.
keep it, because we knew people back in Pigeon that used heroin. We're like, we'll just sell it. You know, I mean, we're making $100 a day a piece. Like, that's a whole day's worth of pay right there for finding this. So we kept it. We actually put it in the attic of the house, right? And we were going to go back and get it whenever we found somebody who wanted it. And we left. He was talking to a couple people that might want it. He was like, yeah, you know, I think this person wants it. Maybe next time we'll go out there, we'll grab it. I'm like, okay. And one day I had to go from my mom's house to my house in Baton Rouge. Now, this other house was in Baton Rouge, but it was on the whole opposite side of Baton Rouge. It was on the north side. And I went to my house, grabbed whatever. Will was, fishing with some of his buddies. And at this point, I am still sober. I'm still like on fire for God. I'm still trying to read my Bible, and I don't understand any of it, but I'm using it, right?
Right.
And on my way back home to go get him from fishing, every single thing, every single ounce of my body is like, you need to go to that house and you need to grab that heroin and you need to throw it away. And I was like, it's so far away. Like, my mom is at home with the baby. Like, she's waiting for me to come pick it up. Will's almost done fishing. He just texted me, told me they're on the way back to the boat ramp. I need to be there. Like, I really don't have time to drive to the whole other side of this house. And it just keeps eating at me. And I'm just like, I can't. Like, I can't. I'm not going to. This is ridiculous. Like, what am I even scared about? He's never going to do heroin. He hates heroin. His mom died from heroin. And I go pick him up. 2 days later, we go back to finish working on that house, right? He's like, hey, I'm going to grab the bag. I'm going to put it in my boot because we're going to be going to Pigeon this weekend. I'm going to sell it. And I'm like, okay, sounds great. We ended up not going to Pigeon, right? I didn't know it at the time, but he had started using the heroin. He got curious, right? And he had it, and he started using it. And I'd ask him, like, hey, are we going, sell that stuff? He'd be like, yeah, we're going to. We just got to find a day where we can actually go out there and they have the money. Because you know how they are. They don't really always have money. I'm like, yeah, okay, you're right. And I'm just blindly trusting it, not thinking anything about it. Like, I really just didn't think he was going to do it. And January, he started acting different to me, right? Like, very, very different. He wasn't lovey anymore. He didn't act like he wanted to sleep in the same bed with me. Like, I started getting super self-conscious. Like, okay, I'm pregnant. I'm getting fat. Like, he just doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm just unattractive to him at this point. He's just not. He doesn't want to be with me, but he's here because he has nowhere else to go, I guess. I don't know. I started being really hard on myself, and I started getting super depressed, and I kind of distanced myself from God at that point. I quit going to church. I just didn't have the motivation to do anything. I didn't, I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was using it until I was, I guess, 6 months pregnant, and I woke up out of a dead sleep, right? So we had argued. He was like, will you come in here? I smoked cigarettes my whole pregnancy. I'm not going to lie. And he's like, will you come in here and smoke with me before you go to sleep? I said, absolutely not. I said, I don't want to even look at you right now. And I laid down and went to sleep. And then I woke up out of a dead sleep. Now I know it was God. Then I didn't know what it was. Sat straight up in a panic, went straight to the bathroom where he was, and I found him laying on the toilet with his head back, completely blue. And I was like, what is going on? Like, and I picked him up. I don't know where I mustered strength from. Picked him up, laid him on the floor, started calling 911. They were like, you need to do CPR. So I'm doing CPR on him, 6 months pregnant. My older son, Evan, at the time, he's about a year. He wakes up and he comes walking in the bathroom, and he is standing next to me, screaming his head off, crying. And they're like, you cannot stop. So I'm just doing chest compressions, looking in my baby's face while he's screaming and crying for his daddy. And I don't know what to do. So they show up and they're like, looking at him. They're like, okay, they pull him, they yank him out the bathroom. My bathroom is really narrow. They yank him out the bathroom, pull him in the living room, start putting all these sticky things on him. And then they look at me and they're like, what drugs does he do? And I said, he's not doing any drugs. We've been doing drug testing for our son to get Evan back, because my parents had made it to where we had to do mandatory drug testing through the court in order to have our son. Yeah. Like, we had to have clean drug tests for, I think it was 8 months or a year or something like that. So I'm like, he's not using. This whole time when I was pregnant from December and all that, I never thought he was using because we were drug tested. And they were like, okay, well, what kind of drugs does he do when he does do drugs? I said, he does Percocets. Like, he likes Percocets. So they Narcaned him, and he woke up. And I was like, okay, what is going on right now? You know? He goes to the hospital. I bring my son to my mom. Oh, actually, my mom meets me because it's the middle of the night. She comes to my house. She meets me. She's like, okay, go to the hospital. Go figure out what's going on. And I walk in, and I'm like, Will, what happened? What is going on? He said, I overdosed. And I said, on what? He said, heroin. And I was like, you're doing heroin? And he's like, yeah. I said, do you have any more? He's like, no. I said, why are you doing heroin? I tried it. And that's when he starts coming clean. He's like, remember
the bag,
the boot and the bag that we found. He's like, and I got curious and I called somebody and they told me to smoke it. And so I started smoking it. And then, he said it didn't do anything for like the first 5 times, but that's because I wasn't doing it right or whatever. And then when I did it right, I fell in love with it. I said, but we've been getting drug tested for our son. How are you? He would calculate the drug test and he would use around the drug test. So I had no idea until I found him. Yeah. And
in front of your son.
Thank goodness that we had just taken our last drug test 2 weeks before that, because honestly, they probably would have taken my kids away from me again if I wouldn't have. I don't know if they would have let me keep them if I would have not allowed him to be in the house anymore, or if they would have taken them all together, right? But I'm like, okay, like, you know, you just died. He's like, yeah, I'm never doing it again, this, that, and the third. I didn't know it at the time. He told me a couple weeks later, but he said when he woke up, the very first thing he did was stuck his hand in his pocket and realized his bag of heroin was still there. And as soon as he got home, released from the hospital, he started doing heroin again. So then I knew that he was using right at that point. And I'm like, okay, so now I'm keeping signs. I'm looking for signs. I'm driving myself crazy because I'm pregnant. He's on heroin. I've got to make sure he doesn't die on me. So I'm not sleeping at night.
Yeah.
I'm looking into every single thing that he's doing, and I'm noticing that he's getting high again. And I'm like, dude, you just died 3 days ago.
Yeah.
You know, like, what are you doing? You need to go to treatment. So I try to bring him to treatment. He ends up leaving 4 days in, and he's like, I'm never going to do it again, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay. Things were okay for like a month and a half, right? And then I started noticing the switch in behavior because when he unveiled the timeline to me after he overdosed the first time, I noticed, okay, you started using in December. I started feeling like you didn't love me in January.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So then I knew what to look for because I knew the change in his behavior. So then he started using again. And then our baby came in July, and I was okay. I don't think I started using till about a month and a half after our baby was born. But he had been on and off heroin this whole entire time, like could not stay clean. I would drive myself crazy digging through the house. Anytime he went to work, I'd start looking everywhere. I'd find low bags. I'd find rolled up dollar bills. I'd find all the things. And I knew he was still using. And it ate at me, right? It really did. I was so scared I was going to find him dead. And one day I noticed that he was using again, and the same friend that I did meth with the very first time was at the house. And I caught Will using heroin again, right? And I took his whole bag, I threw it out the window, and he got so mad at me. He said, that was good stuff. I never even got to try it yet. Like, the dude said it was the best stuff he ever had. I said, exactly, you're going to die off it. That's why I threw it out the window, you know? And he ended up going to get more, but his friend looked at him and was like, dude, you can't get mad at her for wanting to get high when you're getting high. Like, I know exactly how to stop her from getting on your behind for doing what you're doing. I have some meth. Do you want me to offer it to her? And he was like, yeah. You know? And I'm like, okay. So he offered me meth, and I started doing meth, and Will hated when I was on meth. He could not stand to be around me when I was on meth. So I'm like, okay, this might be a good thing, okay? Because I'm going to use this to my advantage. I'm going to say, if you get a bag of heroin, I can get a bag of meth, right?
Yes.
And he's like, okay, that's fine, fair enough. Like, okay. Before I knew it, we're both buying bags of our drug of choice every single day.
With kids.
With kids.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's interesting. A few minutes ago, we talked about the standards that exist even in the what looks like a standardless world, right, of addiction. But there are these weird standards.
Yep.
And sometimes I marvel at it, but I'm reminded as your story goes on that those standards are so fluid. They're not really standards. They're just walls that are waiting to come down, right? I mean, eventually we break every one of them and cross every one of them, and this is what's happening. Yeah. So, for the sake of time, I hate to do that, but you said you were in how many treatment programs?
I was in 6.
6, and you've only done 2 thus far, so there's still like 4 left for you. Kind of summarize that period of navigating these 4 more treatments and what's different about the last one.
Okay, so summarize this, okay? So we both started doing hard drugs together. He ended up killing himself, right? So he hung himself in our house whenever I was feeding the baby. It was the very first time that I said, you know what? I'm not worried about you and your problems. I always put you first. I'm putting this kid first. So I put the kid first. I fed the kid. He hung himself outside of our house. So I found him. And that there was no want for me to get sober after that. Now, God, I've never really told anybody this, but I'm going to say it. About 2 months before our baby was born, right, when I was dealing with him on and off of heroin, I sat in my bedroom one day and I said, God, I said, you know I am never going to leave him. I said, just take him. I said, I'm never going to leave him. Please just take him, okay? So then when he was gone, I blamed myself and I blamed God. Because I said, it's your fault. You know what I'm saying? I know, like, you did this. Like, you should have known better, and I don't understand why you would take him from me. And so I didn't want anything to do with God again. You know, it's interesting. I mean, as distorted as it is, several years earlier, you're not blaming God because he's not real to you. Right. Now, at least he's real enough that you're angry at him. You know, in some very odd, off way, there's some progression. You can see this moving forward. You know he's there, still not kind of in right relationship. Right. I just find that kind of interesting. Okay, so sorry, I've asked you to summarize it, and I'm detouring you. So then I ended up, running as far from God and anything as I could, and I dove straight into meth. You don't sleep on meth, and I didn't want to go to sleep because he wasn't there. So I would stay up for countless days, weeks, running from any and everything. And then I was paranoid and delusional. So then I came up with all these scenarios in my head about, like, there was one point in time, I didn't even think he really killed himself. I thought it was a whole setup from his drug dealer, that maybe he owed his drug dealer money and his drug dealer came and killed him. Just all the conspiracies. Wild conspiracies. And I ended up clinging on to anybody who would get around me. I got in a super abusive relationship after that with somebody else that used meth. They were really one of the only people who wanted to be around me. My mom had taken my kids back from me again. She had put me in jail right before that for a battery. Me and her had gotten into a disagreement, and it turned physical, and got into an abusive relationship with this guy. Was with him for about 6 months. I'm lucky I survived that situation. It was very dark. I ended up when my mom sent me to jail, back up before this abusive relationship, when my mom sent me to jail, she said, you're going to treatment. So they sent me to treatment while I was in jail. She talked to the ward and they sent me to treatment. I was there 2 days. I was still in paranoia and psychosis and I left. I said, these people are trying to poison me. They're trying to kill me.
I'm
Took
leaving.
off and I left. And I ended up calling the cops on myself to come get me by the end of the night.
Wow.
So they picked me up and brought me back to jail. And then my mom was like, Julie, I am not coming to get you out. If I come get you out, you have to promise that you're going to do what you're supposed to do. I want you to go to treatment. And I said, I'm going to do everything I have to do to get my kids back. And she said, you're going to do everything you have to do. You're going to go to treatment. And I said, I'm going to do everything that I have to do to get my kids back, right? Because I'm manipulating this situation because I'm not agreeing to go to treatment. I'm going to do whatever the judge tells me I have to do after I get out and file for custody to get my kids back. She's like, okay, I'm going to come get you. So she comes get me from jail thinking that I agreed to go to treatment. And I ended up leaving with this guy that I ended up in this abusive relationship with for 6 months. Left him. I say I left him. He ended up getting arrested for trying to kill me. But I was not with him anymore, and I was with these other people. Same person that I did meth with the first time, and same person that started this other thing.
Keep circling back.
And they started drugging me with Xanax while I was on meth because they wanted me to go to sleep, and I wouldn't go to sleep. And it ended up making me kind of crazy, and I tried to hang myself in the living room. So they tried to kick down the door. They came inside. They called the police on me. And the police showed up, and he's like, are you trying to kill yourself? I'm like, absolutely not. Like, oh, can I come do a walk through their house? I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Not thinking about the fact that I still have the rope on the fan, and I noticed it whenever he walked through the living room. He's like, looking at the fan, and I'm like, oh, I just screwed up. So then he's like, look, we're just going to bring you to the hospital and get you checked out. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Before we go any further, let's take a minute to address the man or the woman listening to today's episode and wishing for a better life. Or maybe addiction has completely overtaken a family member or a friend.
You are not alone. As you may know, the Jesus Loves Addicts podcast is produced by the Home of Grace, a Christ-centered addiction recovery program in South Mississippi with over 60 years of experience.
The Home of Grace has residential programs ranging from 30 days to 12 months. With 2 separate campuses for men and women, they are fully staffed with caring individuals who want nothing more than to guide you to a life of recovery.
Services include individual and group counseling, marriage and family counseling, classes, workshops, GED, and workforce training, all grounded in biblical principles.
And because of donations from the community, the cost of the program is incredibly affordable.
Thousands of alumni from across the country can tell you there is no other program in the world quite like the Home of Grace.
If you want to start a new path to recovery, don't wait. Speak with an admission specialist today. Visit homeofgrace.org or call 833-55-GRACE to talk with someone.
That's 833-55-GRACE. Call the Home of Grace today.
They bring me to the hospital, and I realize they're going to commit me, so I try to take off running, and I just,
Yeah, that's not going to
No, they tackled me, and I had a knot on the side of my head so big, and I woke up in the psych ward. They kept me there for over 2.5 weeks, and I spent my Owen's first birthday. I was in the psych ward. I remember watching the fireworks because he was born on 4th of July. And I was like, dang, I'm really in here on my baby's birthday. Like, I got to get clean, okay? And so they're like, look, we're not releasing you until we send you to treatment. But you have to, we're having trouble because you're a suicide risk, and we're having trouble finding one that will accept you. So they finally found one that would accept me after me sitting there for 2.5 weeks. I went there. I completed the program. I went home, and it didn't take me but 2.5 weeks, maybe a month before I relapsed. So I think the biggest problem for me was like, you are supposed to, I went to AA programs, right? And nothing's wrong with AA. I have a strong love for AA. But I could not get past the turning your will and your life over to a God, right? because I didn't really know this God. Yeah. And I was mad at this God because why would I turn my life over to him when he just took the father of my children and the best thing that ever happened to me away from me because I asked. Like, I'm dumb. Can you look at my life and see all the decisions I made? Like, you're really going to listen to me about that one?
Yeah.
So I could never turn my life over to anything because I didn't know him. And I relapsed again. Ended up getting arrested for breaking into my own home. I lived with my grandfather. He changed the locks. Of course, I'm on drugs. And so I broke in through the window, and they arrested me. They mandated me again to go to treatment. So I went to treatment again. I take it back. They did not mandate me. My best friend at the time, Hunter, he was the only person who did not quit messing with me throughout all of this craziness. He came and bailed me out. And he's like, look, I'm taking you to treatment. He brought me to a treatment center in Ethel, and he, bought everything that I needed, talked to, the only person on my release, you know what I'm saying, was there for me, for me to get better. And I went there, got out, did good for maybe a month.
Right.
This was at the very end of 2022. So, very end of 2022, I relapsed again. After doing good for about a month, I lost my place of living, all my money, my vehicle, my sanity within 3 weeks. I was running around on the streets in New Orleans with absolutely nowhere to go for about 2.5 weeks, came back to Baton Rouge, ran around for 2.5 weeks out there, absolutely nowhere to go. Decided I was going to go home and fix this warrant that I had, that I knew I had. And so I went back home and did that, but I didn't make it to Monday. I went back on a Saturday evening, and Sunday morning, my papa, I don't even know if my papa knows this, but when he presses certain buttons on his remote for his car, his windows used to roll down by themselves, right? And I'm standing outside, and he's like, you cannot be here while I'm at church, this, that, and other. You've got to go somewhere else. And I had a spare key to his car, but the windows rolled down on his car, right? So I reached inside, and I opened it while I'm standing outside. I'm like, I'm just going to take his car. I'm definitely just going to take his car. The window's just open. All I have is, I don't have the one with the remote. I just have the one that you stick in the ignition. So, this is a sign for me to take this car. So I opened the door, and the alarm starts blaring. I'd been up for so long that I freaked out. I didn't even think about if I put my key in and turn it will stop. So I took off running, and somebody had called the cops. Somebody had seen me and called the cops. And so the cops are coming. I see them. I try to take off running. And I jumped this lady's fence, and the cops end up catching me. They bring me to jail on this warrant in for flight. And I was in jail for a little over 3 months, waiting on somebody to come get me. You could have got me out for $150. Nobody wanted to come get me out. I asked the warden if I can get a sign-out bond. He said, absolutely not. You are the last person I'm giving a sign-out bond to. I'm like, okay, great. So the lady whose fence I jumped while I was running from the cops, her husband was home at the time. And he called her, and he's like, hey, I just want to let you know somebody jumped the fence. I'm not cheating on you. Nothing's going on. I just want you to know when you roll back the cameras and see some girl running through our backyard, this is what happened. Well, then she started keeping up with me in jail because now she's invested. She actually is an alumni of the Home of Grace. So she realized I had been sitting in jail for that long, and she was went to the warden on my behalf, started talking to my family, this and the other, realized what was going on. She went to the warden. She's like, look, I want to send her to Home of Grace. Wow. Can we do that? And he eventually agreed to it. So that is kind of how I ended up at the Home of Grace.
And that was 2023.
2023, yeah.
So you recently had just over 2 years?
Yes.
Yeah.
What happens to you there that's different? And
at Home of Grace?
Sure.
So before I went there, the only reading material they gave me in jail was a Bible. And so I kind of started, for sake of passing time, getting into it and reading it. And there was a couple different things, like this lady came from a different prison and she had this book, Two Chairs. I don't know if y'all ever heard of it. It's an awesome book if you have not ever read it. And it teaches you about like how to sit down and communicate and build a one-on-one relationship with God. And I read that book and it started to click and make sense. And then my Sally, she had been to the Home of Grace before, and she's like, look, like, you really should go to the Home of Grace. And I'm like, okay, you know, maybe whenever I get out. That was before I knew all this was even working in the background. And she would watch church every morning, so she had church on every morning, and I just kind of started watching it and just started reading, and I started realizing, okay, absolutely, like, nobody is there for me. I could get out of jail for $150 right now. Nobody is coming get me. Nobody's answering the phone. Nobody wants anything to do with me.
The reality is that's exactly how they were there for you by not doing that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, right. Yeah. So I really started connecting. I connected with them. You know, I'm like, okay, you have a plan and a purpose for my life. Like, you are the only thing that can do something for me outside these walls, because I can't do anything from inside these walls, and nobody out there is doing it. And I guess that one of the things he chose to do was work on this lady Ellie's heart. Yeah. Right? Use her to make sure that I get where I was supposed to get. And I just would wake up and read my Bible, and I just really dove in, and I started to kind of know who he was, and I developed a hunger, like, okay, I want to know who he is more, right? And then they presented me with this opportunity, and I'm like, yes, yes, no question in my mind. She's a PI, and she's like, look, if you leave, she's like, I will find you. Because the warden didn't want to send me anywhere or give me a sign-up bond, because he knew I would run from treatment because I did it before. And I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, I promise you, I'm not going anywhere. I was so excited about this opportunity. And then they brought me to Home of Grace. And that was when I really started to understand the Bible and God's character, right?
So step 3 is now happening for you.
Yes.
Now you're submitting and...
Yes.
Okay.
Because I didn't before. Like,
yeah.
You know, and I never realized it any of those times I went. I'm like, all these steps, they make a whole bunch of sense, but I didn't believe in anything. I turned my life over. I just didn't. Right. And then I really started to understand his character. I'm like, okay, this is exactly like who I trust my life to. Like, he knew I wanted to come here. And you were there. And he made sure that I was there. Like, amazing. And I'm walking around, and all these people are just treating me with the utmost respect. Not saying that any of the other treatment centers didn't before, but like, these people are like so bright and so full of life, and like a lot of them have been where I've been. And just to see that, I'm like, there's no way. Like, maybe that really can be me. Right. Right. So they do, we go through all that, and I start learning about all these people, and I'm like, okay, like Paul and Moses and the woman at the well, and like and I'm like, well, it really doesn't matter what I do. This is the unconditional love that I have been looking for my whole entire life. It's right there in him.
Amen.
And he's always going to be there. He is everywhere. He is in everything. And I never felt more comfortable or comforted or loved or just stable is a good word. Yeah. Like, I felt like it didn't matter where I was. As long as I was doing the right thing, he was going to be there to make sure things were working out for me.
Can I just say your body posture even echoed that, right? And it's I love that, right? Because it's so real to you. So, again, step 3 happens to you. You don't just recognize that God can do it, but I have to submit to him. And so you get sober. That's the real that you haven't used since. Right. And you are one of those people who now are giving it back, right? Yes, you work for another treatment program.
Yes.
Do you want to say a few words about that, and then we're going to have to land this plane?
That's fine. Yeah, so I am at a treatment center right now. My goal for that is literally just to speak life into these people, right? These people coming in, they're so broken, and
they're who you are.
Yes, exactly. And I'm not saying that everybody needs that, but a lot of them do. They just some of them come in so hopeless, and like there's nothing left for them. You know, but they don't know anything else. And I just want to say, hey, look, I was there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm not. And I don't know what verse it is, but there's a verse where he talks about, like, I called you out of darkness and I called you to be a light, right? And that is just all that I try to do. You know, I can't tell you how much like money I have spent helping some of these people just with like things like they'll come in with nothing, like nobody there. You get what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, we're going to, like, we're going to help you
Sometimes a bar of soap and a hairbrush, just that gesture, that's Jesus to them, because that may be the only Jesus that they can handle seeing right now.
Amen.
Is that kindness? It's like, you know what, all right, that's enough.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they remember the hairbrush, and then sometimes, by the grace of God, they end up being the one to go buy the hairbrush.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, look, this girl bought me a canned Coke.
Yeah.
You know, she had dyed red hair, and she was super nice to me, and I may never know her name, but she bought me a canned Coke when that's what I needed.
Yeah, just getting treated like a normal person instead of an addict made the difference for me, and that's all I try to do.
They saw you.
know?
But again, as you talk about that, you know, in your intro, you said, I don't remember the exact words, but he took you from this place of, and you used very neat words, right? He took you from this place of, hopelessness and something to purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, as you're talking about that, again, you kind of rise up, and I love that, right? It is, it's rise upable.
Right.
So really, really good stuff. And Julie, thank you so much.
Thank you
for being here. And I want to say a couple of things in kind of wrapping this up for those listening. So, as I sat back and just kind of really listened to you talk about your story, guys, the devil is a liar.
Yes.
Yes.
And I don't know what that may mean to you. Sometimes we think about lying, and we think about how kids sometimes will lie to get their way, how adults will sometimes lie to get out of some silly. Guys, the devil is not just a liar. He's the father of them. When you talk about his ability to speak lies into your life, we're not talking about some silly getting around some. No lie is good, right? I'm not justifying the silly lies we tell. He is good at it. He is not just a liar. He is good at it. It is who he is. Guys, as you listen to Julie's story, as you listen to these stories of redemption, all of that stuff, you know, sometimes I worry about how we talk about some of these drugs, about how they fall in love with them, right?
Yeah.
Guys, that's what happens because he's lying to you. You're falling in love with a fallacy. It's the end of these stories that reveal to you the lie of the beginning of those stories. That's what you need to hear in these, right? We're not glorifying the beginning of those. The beginning of these stories are the setup for the end, the brokenness. The reality is some people don't make it to where Julie is. One of her boyfriends didn't make it to where she is and won't have that chance ever again. He's not just a liar. He's the father of them. The level of lies that he will speak into your lives, you can't even fathom. You can't even fathom. Guys, I want to first call your attention to that. This is what this program is about. Exposing those lies and taking you to that place of redemption. As dark and as crafty as he is at telling lies, the opposite thing is just as true. God gives us this simple truth, and wow, what a contrast. What is it that sets us free? I don't care if you're a Christian or a non-Christian, you probably know this saying. The truth. The truth will set you free. Diametrically opposed to who and what Satan is. Guys, that's the reality of it. That's the reality of it. Some people don't like throwing this around. It starts to sound like, you know, Star Wars. The reality is it's the reality. The devil will speak awful lies into you, and what will set you free is the truth of Jesus Christ. What you're looking for is in him anyway. I said there were two things. I'm going to do this other one very briefly because I think it's important because you actually made me see something differently. I talk about the 12 steps a lot because those two reflect biblical truth. So she talked about steps 1, 2, and 3. Essentially, steps 1, 2, and 3 look like this. Step 1 is recognizing I have a problem. Boom, right? Nothing happens until that happens. Step 2 is recognizing that I can't overcome this problem of my own will and my own effort. It's not going to happen. Therefore, maybe this God thing can, right? I'm paraphrasing. This is where some people have an emotional experience. Julie talked about it, right? She had this experience in her first treatment center, weeping, don't know where this weeping is coming from, turns her life over to God, and then goes out and relapses and has to go through 4 more treatments. I think sometimes people go, well, what happened, right? This is what happened. It was real. God spoke to her. God reached into her life in that moment. But guys, he tells us to do something then. It's not just about finding God. It's then step 3. And I loved how you separated that. It's not just realizing God can do it, because he can. Now it's submitting myself to that process and letting him do it. The Bible talks to us time and time again of not just hearing the word, but doing the word. Not just finding Christ, but submitting to Christ, right? In her early conversion, she talks about, I was still so full of God. She was full of the emotion of God, but in the meantime, she's planning on selling heroin that they found to other people. That's not being full of God. I get it, right? But you see, we're still 1 foot in the world and 1 foot in this newfound God. Guys, God is not a God of compromise. If you want what he has for you, and I hope you do, stop compromising. Stop making deals with God. What you're saying is, God, a little bit of what I have can... God's saying, no, all of what I have is what's going to get you free. And he wants to set you free. He's not making it as difficult as he can. He's being as honest. Remember what we started off with? Devil being the father of lies, God being the owner and father of all truth. He's not going to compromise with you because your compromises aren't good for you. This isn't a power thing for God. Your compromises aren't good for you. Submit to him. Find peace there. You hear these people talk about it all the time. Their misery was in the midst of their addiction. She's at peace now.
That's what I want to add one thing to hit that. This is somebody that the very vast majority of your life you lived in rebellion. My way, you're not going to tell me, hey, Julie, don't do this. I'll show you. To someone that I have seen more peace just since you started talking about this full submission, you're like, it's not that fight or flight. It's, this is who I am, and I'm a child of God, and it is full surrender, and it is peace. The peace of God that transcends understanding. There's no fighting. There's no striving. Like, I just hope I get to keep showing up to be what they need, because that's what I needed.
Amen.
So yeah.
Guys, your coffee table might be full of an array of drugs. Your answer isn't getting rid of the drug of choice. It's not saying, well, this one's the problem. The whole table is the problem. Your self-will run riot is the problem. Submit, guys. Find your peace. What you're looking for is in Christ alone. Yes. Guys, we love you. More importantly, Jesus loves you. We will see you, hopefully, next time on Jesus Loves Addicts.